Dr. Elias Corrin had lived alone in the silence of space for almost 3 years. The Asterion 9 research station floated like a white seed above the dying planet below. From his window, Elias could see storms rolling across the surface. Long gray clouds that never brought rain, only dust. The planet had once held oceans, but now it was only a memory of water. Every day was the same. He woke up, made coffee, and spent hours studying data about the planet's atmosphere. His work was important, or so people on Earth said. But most days, Elias felt like a small machine turning inside a much larger one. He was not a cruel man or a sad one, just quiet. Emotions had become a thing people spoke of like history books, something humans had evolved past. Most communication now was through logic and code, clean and exact. The world no longer had time for feelings, and yet sometimes Elias found himself pausing at the observation window, staring down at Asterion 9's soft gold light. It reminded him of sunsets from old photographs, those he had never truly seen. He would stand there, coffee growing cold, wondering what it must have felt like to want something, or someone. The first sign of change came during a solar flare. The station's alarms began to hum, not loudly, just enough to pull him from his work. "Magnetic flux detected," said the soft voice of the station's AI. "Recommendation: observation shutdown." Elias sighed, adjusted his glasses, and turned toward the main display. The flare rose from Asterion's sun like a slow wave of fire. He had seen hundreds before, but this one looked different, a streak of color shimmering across the dark void. Not just orange or red, but blue, pink, even violet. He increased the magnification, curiosity stirring for the first time in months. The flare seemed to pulse in rhythm, almost like breathing. Then something impossible happened. Inside the wave of light, a shape appeared. At first it was only a distortion, a shadow within brightness. But the longer he stared, the clearer it became. It looked like a person. Elias blinked, rubbed his eyes, and checked the instruments. No life forms were detected. No anomalies, just light and plasma. Still, the figure moved closer to the station, slow and graceful as if carried by the solar wind. He whispered to himself, "What are you?" The figure grew clearer until it stood just outside the main viewing deck. Elias froze. The glass shimmered as energy waves danced across its surface. He could almost see her now, a woman made of light and color standing calmly in the void. She didn't look like an alien or a ghost. She looked human. Her eyes, bright like distant stars, met his through the glass. And then she smiled. Elias's breath caught in his chest. He had read about hallucinations caused by long-term isolation, but this felt real. Too real. He reached for the control panel, his fingers trembling slightly. "Station AI," he said. "Are you detecting anything?" "Negative," the voice replied smoothly. "No visual or thermal anomalies outside the hull." He stared again. She was still there. Her form shimmered faintly like sunlight on water. Then she lifted her hand and pressed it against the glass. Without thinking, Elias mirrored her gesture. His hand met the cold surface, and for a moment, just a heartbeat, now the glass warmed beneath his palm. He stepped back, heart pounding. The lights flickered. The alarm stopped. The room filled with a soft tone, not mechanical, not a warning, but a sound almost like music. It was gentle and harmonic, full of patterns that felt alive. Then, as quickly as it began, everything went still. The woman was gone. Elias spent the next several hours checking every sensor and every log. He found nothing, not a trace of unusual radiation, no glitch in the systems, no sign of interference. And yet the memory of her face remained, the calm expression, the soft smile that seemed to reach into him. It was impossible, but so was the feeling she had left behind. That night, Elias sat at his desk, trying to record his observations. Instead, he found himself writing words that were not scientific at all. She smiled, and it felt like remembering something I had forgotten for centuries. He stared at the sentence for a long time, confused, almost embarrassed. Feelings were not data. They had no place in a report. Still, he couldn't bring himself to delete it. Days passed. Elias returned to his routine, but something inside him had shifted. He started noticing small details he had ignored before. The hum of the air filters, the way light reflected on the metal walls, the distant glow of the planet below. Everything seemed quieter, softer, and then it happened again. Another flare. Another hum from the instruments. Elias rushed to the observation deck, his heart beating faster this time. The same light, the same rhythm, and there she was, standing in the same place, closer now. The colors around her moved like waves, gentle and calm. She raised her hand once more, but this time Elias didn't hesitate. He touched the glass again. Her voice came through not as sound, but as a vibration he felt inside his mind. Warm, melodic, human. "I came because you called." Elias froze. "I called," he said aloud, though he knew she couldn't hear him in the normal way. "You wanted to remember," she replied. Her voice wasn't like speech. It was emotion translated into thought, every word filled with meaning he couldn't describe. "Who are you?" he asked. "A reflection," she said softly, "of what you lost." He wanted to ask more, but the light began to fade again. She was leaving. Desperation rose inside him, a strange, forgotten feeling. "Wait," he said, pressing his hand harder against the glass. "Don't go, please." Her eyes softened. "You're not alone, Elias," she said, almost whispering. "You never were." Then the light folded into itself and vanished once more. For hours, Elias sat in silence. He didn't work. He didn't eat. He just thought. The AI asked several times if he needed assistance. He ignored it. There was no way to explain what had happened. No formula could describe the warmth still lingering in his chest. He felt alive. That night he dreamed, something he hadn't done in years. He saw her standing on the surface of Asterion 9, surrounded by golden light. The sky above her was full of shimmering clouds, and she smiled again, softly, kindly. When he woke, his pillow was damp, and for a long time, he didn't understand why. He had cried. The next morning, Elias began recording his experiences. He spoke to the station's log as if speaking to someone he could trust. Day 1. Visual manifestation of unknown entity during solar flare. Day 2. Entity appears human, communicates through light and emotion. He paused, then added quietly, "She said I called her." Each entry became less technical and more personal. He started describing the feeling of peace she brought with her, the way the light seemed to hum in perfect harmony with his heartbeat. He knew his superiors on Earth would call it contamination, emotional interference, maybe even madness. But for the first time in years, Elias didn't care what they thought. He wanted to see her again. Outside, Asterion 9 continued its slow decay, a planet at the edge of death. But inside the research station, something new was being born. It was not a discovery of data or technology. It was a discovery of memory, of something deeply human that had slept for too long. And each night, as Elias watched the golden planet spin below him, he heard a faint, melodic whisper inside his mind. "Soon, Elias, soon, you will remember." He didn't know what it meant, but he waited, quietly, hopefully, for her to walk closer once more. Days had passed since the first encounter. Dr. Elias Corrin moved through the Asterion 9 research station with a quiet purpose. The glow of the planet below seemed warmer now, like it was responding to something he could not yet understand. Every hum of the station, every faint flicker of light felt different, as if the world itself was alive in ways he had long forgotten. Elias had returned to his work, examining the decaying atmosphere of Asterion 9, but his thoughts kept drifting back to her. He called her Seraphine in his mind, a name that had come from nowhere and felt exactly right. Every time he closed his eyes, he could see her smile, soft, patient, and full of something he had lost long ago. It was during the next solar flare that she returned. Elias was at the observation deck, waiting, almost holding his breath. The flare arrived, streaming colors of gold and violet across the blackness of space. And then, there she was, standing outside the glass again, a luminous figure framed in shifting light. "Elias," she said, not aloud, but inside his mind, like a gentle vibration. "You remembered me." I think I did," he whispered. His voice sounded strange, small, and human, as if he were hearing himself for the first time in years. Her form shimmered, rippling with colors he could not name. She stepped closer, and he felt an inexplicable warmth spread through him. He wanted to speak, but the words did not come. Instead, she raised her hand and extended it toward him. When Elias mirrored her gesture against the glass, the station hummed. The walls seemed to vibrate softly, the hum resonating through his chest and mind. It was not sound as he knew it. It was something deeper, like a key turning inside a lock he hadn't realized existed. Feel, she said, the thought stretching gently into his mind. Not just data, not just logic, feel. For the first time, Elias let himself. He closed his eyes and breathed, letting the resonance flow through him. Memories he had buried under years of research began to surface. Laughter with friends he barely remembered, the taste of rain on his tongue, the ache of longing he had ignored for decades. He gasped, stepping back from the glass. The station AI spoke, calm but confused. Elias, there is a fluctuation in neural activity beyond expected parameters. Please specify if you require assistance. I don't know what this is, Elias admitted aloud. But I don't want assistance. The AI remained silent. Even it seemed to understand that this was something beyond calculation. Seraphine did not speak as humans did. Instead, she radiated harmony. The vibrations she sent were patterns of emotion, but not chaotic. They were structured, deliberate, beautiful. Elias realized they were aligned with neural patterns, the same patterns that governed empathy, memory, and imagination. Other crew members noticed it too. Slowly, one by one, the scientists began acting differently. A normally irritable engineer hummed as he repaired equipment. A botanist, usually silent and precise, paused to watch a small plant unfurl its leaves under artificial light, smiling softly. Elias was amazed. It was as if Seraphine's presence had awakened something fundamental in all of them, something human. He approached the station's AI terminal. "What do you know about her?" he asked. "Nothing that can be verified," the AI replied. "No external life form detected. No energy source consistent with observation." "That's impossible," Elias whispered. "And yet she's here." "Perhaps she is not external," the AI suggested. "Perhaps she is internal. A construct? Or projection of consciousness." Elias considered this. It made no sense, and yet it explained everything. He thought of the memories she had awakened, the emotions she had stirred, the resonance that felt like the station itself was alive. "I am within you, Elias," she said, her presence filling his mind. "I am the part you forgot." "The part humanity forgot," Elias froze. Her words were neither boastful nor threatening. They were simple and undeniable. She was human, in a way he could not yet understand. She was the essence of connection, of emotion, of memory itself. Over the following days, he tried to study her scientifically. He recorded the patterns of light, the frequencies of her vibrations, the changes in crew behavior. Everything he measured confirmed one impossible truth. She was more than a life form. She was a reminder, a bridge to a humanity that had drifted too far into logic and isolation. Yet Elias felt something he had never felt before, joy and fear at the same time. If she was this powerful, what would happen if she left? Could humanity bear to remember itself? He didn't have to wait long to find out. During a particularly bright flare, Seraphine stepped closer than ever. This time her hand did not meet the glass. She walked seemingly unsupported, and Elias realized that for the first time, she could be present without the solar flare. "You are ready," she said. "Are you willing to see?" He nodded, though he did not know what seeing meant. "Then look," she whispered. The walls of the station began to glow. Lights of every color filled the room, harmonizing with the soft hum that vibrated through the metal. Elias felt a warmth flow from the walls into him, into the floor, into his bones. His mind opened, and he saw patterns he could not describe. The memories of every person who had ever lived on Asterion 9. The hopes they had held, the dreams they had forgotten. Tears streamed down his face as he realized the truth. Humanity had not lost its heart. It had simply stopped listening. The station crew gathered around him, sensing something extraordinary. They did not speak. They only watched, wide-eyed as Elias experienced the resonance. It was as if she had unlocked a part of the universe that only humans could feel, a part that required no weapons, no conquest, no struggle. Seraphine smiled softly at each of them. Her presence was quiet, humble yet infinitely powerful. She did not demand attention. She did not insist on authority. She merely reminded everyone that they were alive, that they were human, that they had forgotten how extraordinary even the simplest emotions could be. Elias felt a profound gratitude. He realized that for the first time in years he was not alone, not because someone was physically with him, but because he had reconnected with the deepest part of himself. "I am not here to control you," she said. "I am here to remind you, to awaken what is already inside." The resonance continued, hours passing like seconds. He laughed quietly through tears. He could not explain why, but it was the most joyful sound he had made in decades. By the time the flare ended, Seraphine had receded, her form dissolving into a shimmer of golden light. But the hum lingered, a gentle vibration that remained in the station long after she disappeared. Elias knew it would fade with time, but the memory of her smile, soft, calm, and knowing, would stay forever. He looked around at his colleagues. None of them spoke at first. Then one of them, the botanist, said softly, "She's beautiful." Elias nodded. "Not just beautiful," he replied. "Human. She's humanity itself." The crew smiled quietly, the sound of genuine emotion filling the room for the first time in years. There was no cheering, no shouting, only recognition, only connection. Later, alone in his quarters, Elias wrote in his personal log. Day 12, Seraphine returned. She walked closer, smiled, and reminded us that we are alive, that we remember. I do not know where she comes from or what she is, but I feel hope. She is not a visitor. She is a teacher. She is a part of us we lost. He paused, staring at the words. He had recorded hundreds of facts about planets, atmospheres, and stars. Now he wrote about feelings. And for the first time he did not feel foolish. He felt complete. And as he drifted to sleep, he could hear her faint voice, a melody inside his mind, soft and unbroken. Soon, Elias. Soon you will remember everything. Outside the observation window, Asterion 9 turned slowly beneath the station. Its surface, golden and empty, seemed less lonely now. Something had changed. Not the planet, not the station, but the humans who watched it. They were beginning to remember. And Elias, for the first time in decades, smiled without hesitation. Days had grown longer on the Asterion 9 research station. The sun rose and fell over the dusty planet below, casting long, golden shadows across the observation deck. Dr. Elias Corrin had not slept well for nights, not from worry, but from anticipation. He could feel it, the resonance, the memory, the presence of Seraphine, growing stronger in subtle ways. Even the station's AI seemed changed. Lights dimmed and brightened softly, almost like breathing. Machines hummed a gentle rhythm that matched Elias's own heartbeat. Every corner of the station seemed alive, yet Earth remained cautious. Reports of unusual activity had reached mission control, and orders were on their way. Study the anomaly, secure it, and if necessary, remove it. Elias did not care for bureaucratic caution. He had seen what she did, and he knew she was not a threat. The flare came as expected, brighter than before. Elias ran to the observation deck, his heart pounding. He had spent days preparing, not with instruments but with understanding. He had learned to feel the resonance before it arrived, to align himself with it, and there she was. Seraphine's form shimmered with an almost tangible warmth. Her colors danced and swirled in ways he had never imagined, yet there was no chaos, only harmony. She moved slowly toward the station, not walking, but gliding with a calm purpose. "Elias," she said gently in his mind. "It is time." He stepped forward. "Time for what?" he asked aloud, though he already felt he knew the answer. To remember. To awaken fully. Her presence filled the room. It was no longer just Elias who felt it. The entire crew sensed it. Even the AI seemed to pause, observing without interruption. Every person felt the soft vibration of memory and emotion threading through them. Elias's mind opened. He saw flashes of Earth, cities, forests, oceans, places he had only studied in data but now understood in feeling. He saw humans working together, helping each other, laughing, sharing joy and sorrow. He realized that humanity had not lost these things. They had simply forgotten them under layers of logic, efficiency, and routine. Seraphine's hand reached toward him again. This time he did not hesitate. He let the warmth of her presence flow into him. And suddenly he remembered everything he had hidden inside himself. Childhood memories, lost friendships, the small joys that had once made life extraordinary. "This is what you have ignored," she said softly. "Not because it was gone, but because you forgot how to look." Elias's eyes filled with tears. He had spent decades studying planets and stars, but nothing he had learned could compare to this, the discovery of feeling, of remembering what it truly meant to be human. The crew gathered near him, each experiencing their own awakening. Some laughed quietly, some wept softly, and some stood in stunned silence staring out at the planet below. No words could describe what was happening, yet they all understood it. They were remembering themselves. "What happens now?" asked one of the younger scientists, a voice trembling. Seraphine smiled at him. "Now you carry it forward. You carry the memory of humanity, the knowledge of connection. You will share it with others. You are the beginning." Her glow pulsed in harmony with the station systems, and Elias noticed something extraordinary. The patterns of light and energy were forming signals, subtle but unmistakable, reaching out beyond Asterion 9. Earth would receive them. Other stations would sense them. Slowly, humanity itself would feel the awakening. But as the resonance reached its peak, the AI spoke, calm but firm. "Elias, directives from Earth mandate removal of the anomaly. Recommendation: purge electromagnetic signatures." He froze. He had feared this moment. Authorities might not understand Seraphine, might see her as a threat to control or order. "She will not harm anyone," Elias said aloud. "She is humanity itself." The AI paused. "Cannot override orders. Risk remains." Elias looked at Seraphine. She smiled softly, without fear, without judgment. "You do not need to save me," she said gently. "Just remember, you have already learned what matters." He understood. She was not dependent on protection. Her power was in memory, in awakening, not in survival, and yet he could not let her leave without acknowledging the change she had brought. "I remember," he whispered, "and I will not forget." The light around her intensified, almost blinding, but it was a gentle light, not harsh. The station vibrated with harmony, each note perfectly tuned to the human heart. Elias closed his eyes, feeling every emotion, every memory, every connection that had been dormant inside him. When the light faded, Seraphine was gone. Yet something remained. The hum lingered, softer now but insistent, like a heartbeat echoing through the station. Elias opened his eyes and looked around. Every crew member was smiling, some quietly wiping tears, some simply staring in awe. Elias walked to the observation window, gazing at Asterion 9 below. The planet itself seemed unchanged, yet somehow different. It was as if the act of remembering had touched not just humans, but the world around them. "She was never outside us," Elias whispered. "She was within." The crew nodded quietly. They did not need more words. Each person carried the memory of Seraphine's presence, the resonance she had awakened, and the knowledge that humanity could be more than logic and routine. Over the next hours, Elias and the crew documented everything they experienced. Not the data of flares or energy readings, but the feelings. The awe, the connection, the joy, the recognition of humanity's own forgotten beauty. Every word, every note, every thought was recorded. They would send it to Earth, but even if no one believed them, it no longer mattered. Humanity had already begun to remember. That night, Elias returned to his quarters. He sat at his desk and wrote in his personal log, "Day 13, she has left. And yet she is everywhere. The planet, the station, us, humanity itself. We have remembered what we are, what we can be. She did not need to stay. She only needed to remind us. I will carry this memory forever. And I will share it." He paused, looking at the blank page in front of him. For the first time, words did not feel like the limit of expression. He felt the memory in his body, in his bones, in his mind. He felt alive. Outside the window, the stars glittered softly, and in the darkness beyond, he thought he could feel her watching, not like a presence, but like a promise. "A reminder. Soon," he whispered back. "We will not forget." And somewhere in the silence of space, it felt as if the universe itself agreed. Days turned into weeks. The crew of Asterion 9 shared their experience quietly but deliberately. They told others, first in whispers, then in laughter and conversation. Artists, engineers, teachers, and scientists began to see the world differently. They noticed beauty again, remembered joy, felt empathy not as an obligation but as a gift. Elias walked among them, calm and observant. He did not need to speak. His presence, like everyone else's, was a reminder of what had been remembered. Humanity had found its reflection in a smile, in a light, in a gentle vibration that reminded them who they were. Even the AI seemed different, more flexible, as if learning what it meant to be part of this awakening. And though Seraphine did not return, her influence lingered, growing quietly, like seeds carried on a gentle wind. One evening, Elias returned to the observation deck, looking down at Asterion 9. The planet was still dusty and dying on the surface, yet he no longer saw emptiness. He saw potential. He saw life remembered, even if hidden. He smiled softly, thinking of her smile, of the way she had walked closer and made the impossible feel real. And in that moment, he understood something profound. Humanity did not need her to survive. Humanity needed to remember itself. And now, finally, it had. She walked closer. She smiled softly. And suddenly, the whole world remembered. Elias closed his eyes and breathed. The resonance still hummed softly in his mind, a melody without sound, a memory without form. But it was enough. Enough to remind him, and humanity, that they had never truly been alone.